I finished an arc recently, Dragged to the Wedding by Andrew Gray. If it's one thing that we can thank the arc reader discourse on Threads, it's reminding me that I have this book to review. Dragged to the Wedding follows a police officer named James who knows that his mom will be up his rear end if he does not bring a date to his sister's wedding. So he hires a drag queen by the name of Lala outside of drag named Daniel to be his date for the wedding. Now, Daniel is not going as his drag persona, but is going in drag. I picked up this book as an arc off of NetGalley because it is a gay romance written by a gay man. At the very least, I think the author is a gay man. He writes that he likes to look at hot firemen, so context clues. So even though I did kind of wince a little bit at James being a police officer, I went ahead and requested this book. I liked the romance between Daniel and James. I liked that they are really down for each other's personality types, and I thought that was really well done. And I do love how Daniel's experience in drag lends itself to helping out in the wedding quite a bit. Now, with that all said, there were a few things that kept me from really loving this book. The first one is how James is portrayed as being a police officer. So there were too many times where James was like, I can handle this because I've been in too many firefights. In fact, I found the quote, as an officer on the Schaumburg police force, James had been in numerous firefights and had even been called in to back up the Chicago PD. By the way, this is the crime rate that is the town James polices. And I have no doubt that police departments call on others to help, but like how often does it happen? And do they ask for specific officers? And I think what bothers me with this is that it's mentioned multiple times as why James is able to keep a level head. But the problem is the conflicts that happen in this book, the vast majority of them, I don't think you need to have been in firefights and shootouts in order to have a calm level head for. Like it almost would have made more sense to me that James would have been a social worker in a big city. So if you're thinking, well, Chrissy, that's very nitpicky, yes it is. But it kept throwing me off because it got mentioned a bit too much. Then there was the conflicts involving a guy named Weston who ends up just being a creep. And I just felt like the conflict in itself and how it's handled in the book just read really weird to me. Like, yay, the creep doesn't win. But there were so many people who disliked Weston and what he was doing that I wondered how he even made it to the bridal party. Like, there's no scene that shed light for me on why people would have been friends with Weston in the first place. And the last thing is that in the physical intimacy scene between James and Daniel is that it is just awkward, not because of the actions that they're doing, but because there's someone listening in on them doing that thing, and we're reminded of that in a weird way. It just left me wondering, like, how can you guys even be in the mood at that point? Because the person who's listening is not someone I would ever want to know anything about what I do behind closed doors, you know? So overall, I did like the fun rom-com-y bits, but I do wish that there was a little bit more fleshing out of the conflicts, a little bit more depth in some of the characters, and not as awkward as a physical intimacy scene that made me wonder why they're doing that.